President Donald Trump's address to the Israeli Knesset on Monday, October 13, 2025, just hours after the final 20 living hostages were released from Gaza, was a high-stakes, triumphant diplomatic moment. Declaring a historic dawn of a new Middle East, the speech served as both a celebration of the U.S. brokered ceasefire that ended the two-year war and a forceful call to translate military victory into permanent regional peace. Summary and analysis. Summary of key points. Trump's central message was that the war was definitively over, and Israel had won all that can be won by force of arms. His focus immediately shifted to the post-conflict phase, hostage release and war's end. He opened by celebrating the return of the hostages and the end of the conflict that began with the October 7, 2023 attacks. He emphasized the U.S. commitment to the vows, never forget and never again. Call for peace and prosperity. Trump urged Israel to move beyond military objectives toward achieving the ultimate prize of peace and prosperity for the entire Middle East. Message to Palestinians. He directly called on Palestinians to turn forever from the path of terror and violence and focus on rebuilding Gaza, restoring stability, safety, dignity, and economic development. Regional diplomacy. He championed the broader diplomatic framework, which includes the demilitarization of Gaza and disarmament of Hamas, and promised to expand the Abraham Accords. Controversial moment. A notable deviation from the script was his unexpected and highly political plea to Israeli President Isaac Herzog to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for his ongoing corruption charges. Heroes welcome. Trump was received as a hero by most Knesset members, who gave him multiple standing ovations, with Netanyahu hailing him as the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. Analysis. The speech was masterfully timed to capitalize on the emotional peak of the hostage release, allowing Trump to firmly claim credit for ending the most prolonged and costly conflict in Israeli history. The underlying strategy was to use Israel's perceived military victory as the foundation for a permanent political settlement, a significant shift from previous U.S. administrations. The analysis highlights a dichotomy. While the celebratory atmosphere in the Knesset affirmed Israel's strength, Trump's insistence that Israel had won all that they can by force of arms was a subtle yet firm push for an immediate transition to diplomacy. This signaled a clear American commitment to a day-after plan, despite the Israeli government's own ambiguity on post-war governance and the fate of Hamas. The call for a Netanyahu pardon injected a highly partisan element, further cementing Trump's bond with the Prime Minister, but risking domestic political backlash in Israel and suggesting a blurring of lines between U.S. foreign policy and Israeli domestic affairs. Reasons and consequences. Reasons for the speech and its tone. 1. Claiming diplomatic victory. The primary reason was to showcase the ceasefire and hostage release as a major foreign policy triumph of the Trump administration, especially after previous failed attempts to broker a lasting deal in the region and a prolonged war in Ukraine. 2. Imposing momentum. By declaring the war over from the Israeli parliament, Trump was attempting to impose irreversible momentum on the peace process and lock both Israeli and Palestinian factions, as well as Arab partners, into the implementation of the ceasefire agreement's later phases. 3. Domestic political gain. The event amplified Trump's image as a peace president on the global stage, reinforcing his political narrative at home. 4. Security mandate. The speech reinforced Israel's ultimate security demand, the demilitarization of Gaza and the removal of Hamas's military threat, which the peace plan intends to formalize. Consequences. 5. Fragile stability. The immediate consequence was a cessation of major hostilities, bringing an end to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the national trauma of the hostages in Israel. However, the truce remains fragile, as Israel and Hamas disagree on core issues like disarmament and long-term governance. Number 6. Shifting regional dynamics. The event cemented the role of Arab states, who were instrumental in mediating the deal in the post-war structure, especially regarding Gaza's reconstruction and the formation of the Board of Peace to oversee the territory. 7. Netanyahu's political fortunes. Trump's public pardon request provided a significant political boost to Netanyahu, framing him as a wartime victor and a partner in historic peace, potentially strengthening his hand against domestic opponents and legal challenges. 8. Increased U.S. leverage. Trump's successful brokerage gives the U.S. enormous leverage over the next phase of negotiations, including the crucial questions of governance and reconstruction. Predictions and solutions. Predictions. Tenuous Phase 2. The most likely immediate prediction is a difficult, drawn-out negotiation process over Phase 2 of the peace plan, specifically the full disarming of Hamas and the Israeli military's complete withdrawal. Hamas has publicly resisted disarmament, making this a significant potential flashpoint. Reconstruction challenges. Gaza's reconstruction will be immense, estimated at over $100 billion. The process will be hampered by the political uncertainty of post-war governance, and international aid will likely be conditioned on adherence to the peace framework's security provisions. Expansion of normalization. Regional stability, even if tenuous, will accelerate the expansion of the Abraham Accords, with more Arab nations likely to formalize ties with Israel, viewing the end of the Gaza conflict as a necessary precondition. Pressure on the Palestinian Authority, PA. The PA, which the plan envisions playing a future role in Gaza, will face intense pressure to undergo sweeping reforms to prove its administrative and security credibility. Proposed solutions for durable peace. International security and governance. Establish a multinational protection force, potentially involving Arab, Muslim, and European states, in Gaza to ensure demilitarization and provide security during the transition of power to a reformed, credible Palestinian governing body, the Board of Peace. 2. Conditional reconstruction funding. Tie global funding for Gaza's reconstruction to benchmarks proving that the aid is not diverted to militant activities and that a non-Hamas, non-terrorist governance structure is in place. 3. Economic integration. Implement large-scale, long-term economic projects, including industrial zones and infrastructure connections between Gaza, the West Bank, Israel, and Egypt. Economic integration creates stakeholders in peace. 4. Clear path to statehood, the two-state question. While the speech avoided details, a long-term solution requires the U.S. and its partners to define a credible, time-bound pathway toward a viable Palestinian state, providing a political horizon for the moderate Palestinian leadership to build popular support.